The main features of Penumbra is, of course, the physics. We spend a great deal of time to make the physics part of the gameplay and not simply just something for the graphics. And this also gives the player the option to do a lot of things hands-on in the game. And this draws the player into the game, and from this we believe that we can create quite a horrific ambience in the game. As you can see, it's a first-person game, but we believe that the first-person horror game should not have first-person shooting, because shooting is counterproductive to actually being a horrific game. So we try to have another sort of combat where the player avoids the enemy, or where he uses the environment to beat the enemy, or where he uses his wits to beat the enemy.
Must have been right.
Now a little about the actual contents of the collection. First off, you have Penumbra Overture. Penumbra Overture starts the storyline, and later on we move on to Black Plague, which is the final of the storyline of Penumbra, really. In Requiem, as Jens said, we have a more puzzle focus. We tie some loose ends that was with the story. You get to meet some old characters, and you also have lots of new puzzles. In Penumbra, our goals are, or this is actually what's in Penumbra, over 50% of all puzzles have to do with some kind of physics, and that's quite a lot when you compare it to other games. Almost all interaction and animation use physics. When I mean animation, it's, for example, we have one part in the game when you push down a wagon down a mining hole and that kind of stuff, usually, or a boulder coming rushing at you in a cave. And also many important objects, like I told about, that the player can throw around and put some other place, they're controlled by physics. So we have to take good care and make sure that the player doesn't do clever things with this kind of stuff.
Typical problems and solutions in the Penumbra games. The first example, this is the butterfly effect. And here we're going to show you a very simple gameplay part from Requiem, where we're trying to get barrels to roll down a nice slope. So here you can see that the barrels are coming as intended. But this only works because we have very specific areas applying forces to the barrels, and we have colliding objects that decides where exactly these objects will move. If you turn all that off and just leave the physics to being physics, this is the end result. So all sorts of small things can have weird effects. And here's the instability issue. This is an important object, but the player could actually bang it through the floor. But since the Penumbra game is very much about what is real and what is not real, we can have a sort of solution here that this level is in the player's mind, so he doesn't know if this is real or if it's not real. And this is a situation where the player needs to build a bridge to get back. But it could be a bit difficult to build a bridge, or he could perhaps not plan how to build the bridge properly to begin with. So after trying to build it, and it might not be working so very well, since he's supposed to use this to jump up and get back, this might not be a good start. So he gets frustrated. And then we end up in an unwinnable state. So we had to add a sort of, he can sneak back that way, just in case, you never know. We don't want to have the player trying to jump over and then die, because we don't really believe so much in having the player replay. The positive things with physics, you can have multiple solutions. So the player needs to get an important object down from the top shelf, and then he can either use a box and just simply roll it. And there he has the fuse. Or he could use the broom located to the right and use that to get the object down. And that's the only use of the broom in the whole game. and that really pisses players off, because they're, oh, yeah, there's the broom and I played the whole game, there's no use for it, what the f***? And in this next room, he has options. He could either use the big box, put it on the button on the floor to open the door, which is one solution, or he could just skip the box altogether and only use the breeze from the previous room. And here he has to use three parts to make it go down, but he could also use 2 parts, jump up on it on himself, and then he gets just enough time to run out the door before it goes up again, and then he gets out into the next room. By design, we try to we think of in a sort of 3-step way that the player has to make 3 steps that are not necessary in order to break the game. Sort of. So it's a safety net. Help me.